It's round 4 of the candidates. Alireza has black. He's playing Jan Nepomniachtchi, and we saw an absolutely brutal Najdorf here. So Jan kicked off with pawn to e4, c5 from Alireza, and this time we go down a mainline Najdorf. When Richard Rapport played this against Alireza, he now recaptured with the queen in this position, but Jan goes with the knight, standard move, knight f6, knight c3, and now pawn a6, starting this Najdorf variation. So f3 now played by Jan. Now this is kind of a trendy move lately. You support g4 later. It's all these themes of the English attack with the bishop coming to e3, queen d2, castles long. And we have a really fighting game now. So e5 from Alireza. He takes that central space. The knight drops back. And now he goes bishop e6 developing. We had bishop e3 from Jan. And here after bishop to e7, queen d2, Alireza has a key choice because h5 is a very principled move here. You clamp on g4. It's a very trendy way to play, but actually Alireza goes for castles instead. Another common way to play here. You allow white this g4 stuff, and now it's just a race to see who can checkmate the other person's king first. So castles queenside from Jan. Now we had knight b to d7. Pawn g4, here they come, but b5 from Alireza, he strikes back. Now it looks like white is just first to the punch, pawn g5, but actually after pawn b4, you don't have time to take here because black's taking here, and then you're also taking the queen with check on the next move. So this isn't the way to play. Instead, we had knight to e2, dropping back from black's attack, and now Alireza goes knight to e8, he drops his pawn back, and Jan goes pawn to f4. This is all theory. There are hundreds of games here, thousands from this position, so it's very, very well known. And a5 is the principled move. Black keeps going on the queen side there, and now pawn f5 from Jan. He takes that space here, and this is where we reach a crossroads. So the vast majority of games here, black carries on with pawn to a4, and then there's different moves for white. You can put the knight in here, you can take on e6 straight away, but Alireza doesn't go for any of this. Both players are just blitzing out their moves at this point, and he goes bishop to c4. I mean, the prep he's brought in this tournament is just exceptional, really ready in many positions, and you just very rarely see this move. You know, normally a4 is played. Here Jan had a think for about 10 minutes or so, and he played king to b1. Now Alireza goes a4, the knight dropped back, and d5 from Alireza, all top engine moves so far. He gets that break in the center here, but when you're actually striking like this, well, now it allows Jan to actually push on the king side here. He plays pawn to f6, and this is actually a sacrifice. Now still Alireza's playing quickly here. He captures that pawn, looks really scary, opening up the king, but black doesn't have so many choices there. And now this one was recaptured by the knight. This then leaves this knight on e8 to actually defend the g7 square from potential checkmating attacks, also come to d6 at some point in time. And now knight g3 was played by Jan, very logical move. You protect this pawn here, you open up these bishops, and here Alireza now had a long think. He thought for 30 minutes in this position over his next move, which is really strange really. You know, when he comes with this new move of bishop c4, relatively new at the top level, you'd have thought that he's really looked deeply at this position, but now he just seemed out of his comfort zone. And when you run this with the engines, it would seem king h8 is best. You allow white to take here, the pawn recaptures, queens come off, something like this. Now white can go bishop c5, you hit rook and pawn, so after that rook slides away, the bishop takes, pawn h5 let's say, threatening h4. Now the materials level, the position's roughly equal here, chances for both sides. So this would have been the main way to play for black here, but Alireza didn't go for this one. Instead, in this position here, instead of king h8, he took on f1. Now the h rook recaptured. Very often this rook sits well on the d file, so that's why that one went there. Often it's sliding back to g1 now at the right moment. And now here once again, Alireza thought for another 30 minutes, so he really wasn't familiar with the position as well as he should have been. Now he plays pawn to a3 here, just to show you, by the way, if you go, say, pawn d4, getting that space in the center, hitting the bishop, well, actually, you're just helping white attack like this. The rook's coming soon, plus you're actually picking up an exchange there unless you play this ugly move. The knight's coming to f5, so it's a massive attack for white. So that's why a3 was played. Tries to get something going on the queen side. Jan closes things with b3. And now Alireza goes king h8, but once again, he keeps just taking 10 minutes a move, 5 minutes a move here. He's really getting down on the clock. Jan takes on d5, and now Alireza doesn't play the best move here, but there's only one move actually to keep things looking okay, and that's queen to c7. You protect this pawn some more, you look down here, and now the best move for white would seem to be this exchange sack of taking on f6. Bishop recaptures, pawn d6. This is just one sample line where then you pick up this pawn on b4 here, bishop g7. Okay, game goes on. White should be a bit better here, but it's the best way to play for black. But Alireza didn't go in for any of this. Instead, he put the knight on d6 immediately, a really juicy square, but now you're just dropping this pawn on b4 without actually picking up any kind of exchange on f6 here. And now Alireza goes further wrong. He's really getting low on time. He should go rook to b8, taking some control of this b6 square, because after rook to c8 here, now the bishop can land there. Kick this queen into d7, and then Jan simply dropped his queen back here, targeted e5, and now Alireza spent a further 15 minutes on this move. He goes rook to b8, kicking the bishop. It dropped into a5 here, and he now just has 3 minutes left on his clock, just over 3 minutes for all of his remaining moves. 13 moves here, and there's no increment, remember. So this is just insane time management from Alireza. So after bishop a5, now he goes knight to c4, using that pin, hitting the bishop, protecting e5 here. But d6 by Jan, an excellent move. There were many good moves there. You could drop the bishop back to c3 immediately, but this is such a great randomizer move when your opponent's low on time, and it's a good move too. Now you technically can take that one with the knight, but then the queen takes on e5, and okay, the game goes on. But black didn't take on d6. Alireza instead dropped the bishop back here, tried to exchange these ones off. Bishop c3 from Jan. Look at this horrible diagonal. That king's getting really under pressure. Queen e6 from Alireza holds the pawn. Knight d3 attacked it again. And now knight d5 played. Hits the bishop on c3. You can simply drop it back to a1 here, but instead Jan goes for this one, a more forcing sequence. He hits the black queen. Now you can't take that one because the pawn is pinned to the king. So we had takes with the knight here, the rook recaptured, and now pawn to f6 was played. But queen e2 from Jan hits the knight on c4. It's about to actually be captured now. It's attacked by both rook and queen here, as we can see, so it has to move, and best was takes on d6 here. But Alireza jumped it into b2, no time on his clock, and now this one simply slid over onto that f-file, and it's really all over at this stage. Alireza's just playing on seconds. He goes rook e8 to hold his queen, threaten takes rook on f4, so rook h4 played. Pawn f5 now, but these are kind of nothing moves. Rook b7 was best there, but still white has about a +7, 8 advantage. After pawn to f5, can you see how Jan finished the game here? If you want to pause and look for it, please do so. So he crashes through here on h7 with the rook. The king recaptures, and then queen h5 check. Now if the king comes here, well, we're coming in with the knight with check. So the king went to g8 instead. Now the knight comes in anyway, and after bishop f6, rook g1 check, here Alireza resigned, about 3 seconds on the clock anyway. He hadn't yet made time control because it's mate in 4 in this position. Here's one line, king f8, check from here, king f7, You check again with the rook here. Now if the bishop captures, well this is just mate on the spot. And after the king moves away, well then we mate like this. This is how the game could have ended. So an absolutely brutal Najdorf from Jan. Just exceptional play from him to refute Alireza's kind of novel move that you rarely see. Just go for the standard attacking plans, and Alireza really crumbled on the queen side there, didn't have the feel for the position properly, and really struggled. So I hope you enjoyed this video. To see another amazing game between these two players, then click here. Thanks for watching, see you soon.